Peace and greetings, peace and greetings, peace and greetings, and we are back. We are back. We are back. We are back. Yes. Still having problems with my internet here. This Mercury retrograde is kicking my behind, And like I said, this is a podcast all about being safe, being honest. I no longer build a platform on perfection. You're going to see me make my mistakes. You're going to see me grow. You're going to see me laugh. You're going to see me cry. So we're just going to get right into it. Again, like I said, we have Dr. Phil Valentine in here. And I'm going to open up with a poem. Give thanks to the Most High. I ask the Most High to bless this podcast. I ask the Most High to give me the words to say out my mouth. I ask the Most High to remove and block all interferences. I ask the Most High to bless this area and this energy as we bring the information that we need to bring to the fellow souls. I want to say thank you. I give thanks to you, Most High. No matter what challenges I may face, I still show up. No matter what challenges arise, I still show up because I know you set me on a mission. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for choosing me. Please keep the internet safe. And please let the messages come through clear. Help me get through this Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde has been teaching me a lot. And I want to say thank you. Thank you so kindly. Give thanks, Ashe. So I want to open up. I'm actually reading a book right now, and it's called The Power of Now. And it's by Eckhart Tolle. And last year, many of you know that I had a nervous breakdown. And when I had that nervous breakdown, I had to do so much deep healing. And what I realized that a lot of the pain was within my body. And Eckhart Tolle speaks to that. Because you identify with each means, you derive sense from self and contented activity of your mind. Because you believe that we could cease to be if you stop thinking. As you grow up, you form a mental image of who you are based on your personal and cultural conditioning. We may call this a phantom of self-ego. It consists of the mind activity and can only be kept going through constant thinking. The term ego means different, things to do different people. But when I use it here, it means a false self created by the unconscious identification with the mind. And what I will say to that is, when I went through that nervous breakdown, the old self had to die in order for the new self to be reborn. I was holding on to a paradigm of how I thought things should be. And that played a part in my mental health. I also had to look at myself in the mirror and ask myself, Am I operating to my full potential? I also had to go and do deep diving, dark night of the soul work to get into the deep, darkest parts of my body and in my mind and in my subconsciousness. I had to go back and go get that little girl that was stuck in that room, in that dark room, because she was afraid. She was afraid to get a beating from her mom, or she was afraid because she was going to get molested by her stepfather, or she was just afraid of just the environment, the toxic environment that she was in. I had to go back and I had to console her. So as I was growing up, I always thought that this is how things should be. And then when I had that nervous breakdown, I realized that I'm worth more. So my gift is to move forward and to pay it forward, to let everyone know that you're not alone. Sometimes when certain things happen to you, it may happen for a good reason because your higher self or your aura, your avatar wants you to know that you deserve better and you are more, and for you to get back on the path with your destiny. And if that didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be able to bring you these messages. Nervous and all. Everyone that knows me know how nervous I will be of speaking publicly. But when we one on one, I got the gift of gab. I could go all day. So I just want to say thank you to the Most High for bringing this message. So without further ado, I would like to bring on a phenomenal man, Dr. Phil Valentine. He is the father of the conscious community. And if it wasn't for him, along with other great men and great kings, but we talking about Dr. Phil right now, Dr. Phil Valentine right now. If it wasn't for him doing his research and doing his work that he done, we wouldn't be here right now. We wouldn't have gotten the knowledge that we have gotten, to heal ourselves, to be our best versions of ourselves. So without further ado, let's bring in Dr. Valentine. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Greetings, Dr. Valentine. How are you?
I'm well, beloved, and yourself?
I'm wonderful. I'm well. I can't complain. I'm gonna have to take my headphones off for this one because I'm using another device. But I just want to say to you again, thank you so kindly for blessing my podcast with your presence. So I just want to jump right into it because everyone is here to see you. Everyone is excited to see you. I know you. How did you start this conscious journey? What made you start it, and how did you get there? I know many years ago I've done some research on you, and I know many years ago you was a singer, songwriter. You was in the band, and you did pretty well for yourself. So I want to know what was the transition that took place from you being in the music industry to going into the conscious community.
Well, that's an interesting question because I never separated the two. I brought both of them together.
Mm,
As I did my music, I was studying. When I got off stage, I had my books in the back. I didn't drink any alcohol, so I wasn't at the bar. So that's pretty much what I did. I came up from a very, being that I was raised in the West Indies in Trinidad with my grandparents, that was, almost like a village atmosphere. We lived in the bush, and I had that particular upcoming, as a Catholic upbringing, but there was always this undertone of African obia. And so
mm,
that an energy that I came up under in my spiritual, rather than my religious. My religious was Catholicism, but my spiritual was obia. So Obia man was giving us instructions back when I was 6, 7, 8 years of age, and we worked in the bush. My friend and I, we were at the same age studying, being his gopher, so to speak, and picking up information from him. When I finally came back from the West Indies to here, it was an easy thing to get into because my father was military. My mother was very professional. She was a registered nurse. My father was an engineer. So they were pretty much a stickler for education. So I read a lot of books. I had to read a dictionary, 2 pages of a dictionary every night before bed. So I was being regimented towards being scholarly and intellectual because both my parents. And so
Mm.
after I did that, um, then school, graduating from there, I dropped out of college because they weren't teaching me anything. And so from that point forward, um, what goaded me into being, apart from having a lot of my music career sabotaged, a lot of my materials stolen by very, very popular and very well known artists. That was very frustrating because I didn't know the music business. I knew my music, but not the business. That kind of
Mm.
propelled me into having to withdraw from that. And so I just picked up on the next thing, and based on my problems with the vaccinations I was given when I was a boy, it had some deleterious effects on my health. So I promised the Most High that if I found a way to heal myself naturally, that I would teach others how to do it. And one day I almost collapsed on the street because of
Mm.
that condition. And when I did that, I crawled my way back to the stoop where we lived in Brooklyn. And I said, if I could just die on these stoops right here, I'd be very happy. Thank you. And I didn't die. So that promise was had to be kept. So from that point forward, my sojourn and my whole thing was to learn how to heal. And my spiritual metaphysical mind was healing it from another perspective. So prayerfully, well, I've done enough to forward the work. Started the underground metaphysical community in New York. Got together and introduced Bobby Hemmett to New York. Traveled the world and came back here. And after I say nearly 40 years of doing this, uh, here I am. Huh?
Will give thanks to your parents, for instilling education in you, and give thanks to the Most High as well. Um, I really want to touch on the metaphysics side of mental health. Can you be able to tell me and our guests how does that correlate with each other? Meaning, how if your metaphysical side is unbalanced, how does it affect your mental health?
Well, it's all energy. It's all the way that one learns how to not only control and to delegate and to place your thought energies in the right places, in the right times, in the right directions, then you have a better understanding of what your thoughts are. Your thoughts are separate from you. They're not really you. They're just mechanisms and
Mm,
machines of the mind. So because they are not really connected to you, you have control over them, but our ignorance of that fact makes it have them have control over us. So when our
mm,
thoughts control us, we feel that somehow all that occupies that thought stream is somehow us, and we accept it as such. And our emotions and so forth are tied to what we believe. So my school teaches that because we are not our thoughts, and that's something that most people will say, well, how's that, Dr. Valentine? Well, I tell people to do a little simple exercise. If you're thinking about something and you see pictures or at least hear something in your head, like a song or whatever it is, what is the entity that is actually seeing and hearing those thoughts? because the thoughts are not
Mm.
living themselves. When
Mhm.
you become familiar with the observer within you, there is an observer which is related to the spark that you are. That observer is the one that either surrenders to thought or gains control of it. So when you're looking at thought as a dispassionate entity, you no longer are feeding that thought. So when you're no longer
Mm.
feeding the thought no longer controls you. So understanding that thought is
Mm.
something distinct from you gives you a better understanding of what it is that's truly controlling you. And now you can do an inventory, the same way that you thumb through different files when you go to a library looking for a book. Well, that's what you do when you go through the files of your thoughts and your experiences. It's nothing more than chemistry. When you think about a thought or
Mhm.
bring back a memory, you're bringing back the past. And that experience now creates a chemistry. The way, remember how old photographs used to be processed? They used to put it through a kind of a
Yes.
chemical. Well, that's the same thing you do when
Yes.
you thoughts. Your thoughts go through a chemistry.
Mm.
And if you have traumatic thoughts from traumatic experiences, it means that you have alters in your body. And these alters are created by the mind in order for you to escape whatever traumas you're dealing with. And those alters have their own thinking.
Mm.
And so when you understand
Mm.
that the trauma brings you to that thought process that was artificially created for you to deal with your pain, how much more you feed that person is based upon what you value in that relationship with that altar. And when you no longer
Mm.
value that energy, you pull away from it and it begins to die because it needs your attention. That's why you pay attention. You pay more than just time and money. You pay life force. You pay
Mm.
consciousness. So I've had to, as a metaphysical psychologist, you get to learn how thought works. You learn that thought is an entity. It's like a screaming baby. It always looks for attention. And then if the brain is addicted to thought, it has to feed. So it needs constant input. It needs to be distracted constantly because there's nothing that they don't know how to use the silence. That's where your escape is. It's in the silence.
Mm. I give thanks to that. And like I told you before, I'm also a student right now. So when I'm asking these questions, I'm also asking for me. And everything you said resonated because that's everything that I went through. All the traumas just kept playing over and over and over and over and over in my mind. And after I had the nervous breakdown, I realized how much I was thinking negatively. And, I'm doing spiritual work and I'm thinking that I'm vibrating higher, but my thoughts would drift off to memories in the past that I was feeding. And I realized that it was living in my body because it was creating pain in certain portals in my body. And as I did this spiritual work more and more to let go, I will literally feel the energy lift off of me, you know. Um, and you said something about the escape is to, quieting the mind. And that was a major challenge for me because I was so used to being busy and everything was taken away from me. And it made me so nervous and get anxiety more, meaning that when I say everything was taken away from me, everything was taken away for a good thing, the environment, and so that I can be able to heal. So can you be able to? I remember I was watching you on Lloyd Strayhorn's podcast not too long ago, and you was talking about the food and how that plays a big part, in our metaphysics and, and within our being. Can you talk about how the food plays a part with that, and also with our mental health, and how to heal from the energy of fighting it off?
Well, yeah, food essentially either feeds or starves. And at this particular time, a lot of people are becoming obese. People think that people obese are actually being fed, but that's obesity. Obesity is another form of starvation, and they don't understand that
Mm,
starvation is a balance between somebody who's completely emaciated and somebody who's obese. Both are dealing with a different form of or vibration of starvation. Food,
mm,
uh, if food addicts, then normally it takes energy from you to digest. So when you eat, when you're thinking about a certain thought process, when you're going through certain problems, and you find yourself eating a certain type of food because that type of food tends to satisfy you, or it tends to inebriate you, it tends to sedate you, then what's happening is it does not nurture you, because you don't become addicted to an apple. Apples don't addict because they have over 15 to 20,000 nutrients in them. And 15 to 20,000 nutrients usually are either stored or they are used in when the body needs it at that time. So foods we eat that comfort us are usually an addiction that is started in childhood. Say, for instance, you did good in your report card, or you did something good in school. The first thing they want to give you is ice cream and cake and anything that would give you a stimulation. And then what that happens is you reward yourself later on as an adult. So when you fail, in order for you to get that same feeling of accomplishment and feeling as if, you're still worth something, that feeling of elation that that candy or whatever it is, the sweets that were given to you during the time you were successful, you then live vicariously through that type of mental success from the past. And you find yourself addicted to those materials that tend to inebriate you. Most of that is sugar.
mm,
And after a while,
mm,
of that, you find yourself falling asleep and you don't have to deal with the conscious part of your situation. So it's just like drinking alcohol in order to inebriate your pain. People use food. So when you're eating food, you have to be able to eat food in such a way that it gives when you take. In other words, there is reciprocity. When you eat something, it has to contain something that the body will need live. If the body doesn't get that
mm,
life, then it sacrifices its storehouse of vital force in order to digest the dead food. In other words, it has to sacrifice vital force that it would not be able to return, like an apple would return nutrients so that the vital force would be stored back, and whatever energy you gave up to digest the apple would be returned by what the apple is giving you in return. When you're eating steak and Mickey D
mm,
and these things are dead. And of course, when you eat those kinds of food, then what happens is your body then slowly but surely becomes addicted, because the sacrifice of your natural vital force creates a deficit, and the deficit becomes the appetite and the addiction.
mm. Wow. You know, uh, I learned a lot of that over the years, but especially I recently became a sacred woman this year in January 2022. And I've learned that food plays a very major part in your vibration. So if we're eating uh, death, you know, how can we be alive? And especially like now in this day and time, the animals are not grown the way they used to, with love and care on the farm, and free range, and getting sun and things of that nature. So if the animal was slaughtered, and it had anxiety and it had stress and depression because it was mistreated and in cages, when we eat that meat, we're gonna feel that too. because that energy, is being transferred, to us. And I realize that I eat fish daily, every now and again. I haven't eaten meat in so many years. Give thanks to that because of digestion issues and because of health. But I also wanted to get into me and you spoke about something a couple of months ago, and you hit me over the head with it. I was like, oh my God, he's schooling me already. We didn't even get to the podcast yet. And I was saying that the podcast is going to be about mental health, in the Black community, and how this Willie Lynch still plays a part in that. And you had dropped the bomb on me. Would you like to drop that bomb, or would you like for me to introduce that bomb?
I have no idea where we are at that.
When you said that Willie Lynch didn't exist. A professor wrote that letter.
right, yeah. Wow. I think it's Abiola or Abinola, I believe his name is. I'll get the name for you and you can post it. But he wrote the Willie Lynch letter. Yeah, Willie Lynch didn't write that. He wrote that as a commentary to that. And of course, I mean, everything that is said in the Willie Lynch letter is can be applied to everything that happened to us over the course of a couple of centuries that we see, and we see that being played out today, very much so in the separation of our men and our women, separation. I mean, everything was to create a dichotomy in their life, and then create confusion and separation. And all he did was put it into a story form that we could actually see and hear. And of course, the names of the people that he used possibly were people who worked or who did live during that time. The same way the Bible works. The Bible works that way by using certain people who may have existed in order to give weight to the lesson that it wanted to convey. But yeah, I'm very well known. I mean, I'm very well knowledgeable about the sacred woman. I helped put it together, and we I was the one who put the metaphysics in it. And at the time, my wife at that time, QueenAfua, she put the amenities, she put the feminine energy into it. And I just made sure the feminine energy had that mystical background that it's supposed to have had. And the Wounded Womb that I had written was actually a small book, a folio that I wrote in order to give to women at that time, because during that time, Afua and I were working to help women because most women were having a problem with their wounds. 85% of our clientele were women, and the 90% of the situations that they were suffering from were womb situations. So I wrote little folios and I would give little addendums, and the book started to come together. First had 200 pages, 300, and now it's 700 pages. It was actually 1,500 pages, and I knocked it down to seven and some change. And it was supposed to come out with a second volume to it, an addendum, but I never had the time.
Mm,
So, yeah, um, your food and the what you what you're thinking about, your energy and the subject matter that you're speaking on, all of that is related metaphysically. The metaphysics, once you come to understand the silence that comes from your knowledge or your acknowledgement of the, the seeker and the administrator and what we call the observer, you'll
mm,
see that the observer within is the one that's doing the censoring or doing the critiquing of your thought process. Now, it doesn't mean that you're supposed to, start regimenting yourself like a soldier around telling your thoughts, don't do that, don't do that. There are ways for you to become more aware of how you're thinking and the circumstances that get you to think a specific way. Say, when you're around certain people, do you start thinking a certain way? When you're around a certain person, You start thinking a certain,
Mm.
and if you can take an inventory of what your thoughts are like around certain people in certain circumstances, you have to really critique yourself so you can understand how your reactive mind. You have a reactive mind that tries to protect you and would pounce to defend you even when you hear the truth about yourself. You defend that. Sometimes people get very angry when somebody kind of outs them and the way they are. And you don't want to be outed, so you protect yourself. And you don't even want to be outed to yourself. Because when certain truths and realities hit you, you say, am I really prepared to change at this time? I got so much to do here and here. It seems that the change is going to take so much work, and I'm going to have to do A, B, and a third. Well, right away, you're setting up your own defense against
Mm.
yourself. You're starting to articulate your own failure before you.
Mm.
So I tell
Mm.
people, first thing you do when they come to see me and they start dealing with my consultations is as a therapist, because I've helped train a lot of people to be therapists in my classes in my university. And the first thing is that when somebody comes to you for help, they're coming to you in a place where they think that they don't have any solutions. And by the time you're done with them, they should leave as if they already are in charge and they have already seen the light at that very first time that they've seen you or talked to you. If they don't feel that, then you're simply like a doctor. You got to come back for more drugs and
Mm.
keep you on that. No. The best teacher is the one who teaches his student or her student to become greater than they.
Mm.
If you're not teaching your student to be greater than you, then you are creating a cult.
Mm.
You
Give
want
thanks.
somebody to follow you, you want somebody to, just adore my presence. That's why so many people who have all these communities fail,
Yes.
because they become parasitic. They start feeding off of the people's adoration. And that's a trap. I told, if you listen to any of my lectures, I say don't follow me anywhere. Look at what I've said, take it under consideration, do your own due diligence. But don't believe me, don't follow me anywhere, nothing. I'm a loner on the path of the hidden light.
Mm. Mm. Give thanks to that. Give thanks to that. And I'm very grateful that you said that. Because a lot of conscious communities get um dwindled, just like you said. And I also think that's attached to the ego, you know. The ego has to be fed. And I went through that because I was so used to living a certain lifestyle. And then when everything got taken away from me, it was like, okay, well, who am I? Who was me to it? And the Most High made me, look deep within inside myself and say, who are you, without those things?
Well,
Um,
if I may, I don't mean to
sure.
cut your wisdom, but the ego only happens when thought rules you. It cannot it cannot survive you understanding and having not control, but an understanding of how your thought process works. Ego cannot exist. In fact, ego never existed. That was the word itself was created by Freud and
Mm,
was actually bulged up by Freud after he, would study ancient Dravidian, knowledge. He and Jung and Schopenhauer and all the rest of these Europeans, they began using that as a tactic to make sure that the lesser people did not have the will to actually come and subsume or try to take over,
mm,
create these intellectual barriers, and then use their intellect in order to keep certain people outside of the circle. So in
mm,
school, we teach that there's no such thing as ego, there is only free will.
mm,
What do you do with your free will? Do your free will turn against you? Are you doing things to sabotage? Are you using the weapons that you would use to go out there and carve a niche for yourself in your physical body? Are you using that against yourself? Are you in your space of humility? Because the ego is free will, and free will, the will, is a dangerous thing.
mm,
If you are,
mm,
it's a wielded weapon against others. You see the will that these Europeans and the people who are, will to control and to feel less if they don't have this and that. That in itself is the misuse and abuse of free will. Ego now becomes a subservient. It is a stepchild to the thought process, to hurt and pained thoughts.
mm,
And then the thoughts defend themselves by creating this doppelganger called the ego.
mm.
And it becomes this thing where you now take over, you are taken over, and you're motivated to act a certain way and you don't know why.
You just explained everything that I went through. Thank you. I told you I was here. I'm the student as well. Thank you for that. It's the thought. I appreciate that. I definitely want to shout out some of the guests here. Everyone's here to see you. We have a lot of sacred women in the building. We have Empress Nuba, hello, Providencia, Lopez. We have Isis the Bright. We have Fatal Angel. We have Crystal Thompson, Yana Gonzalez. We have Tanasia. We have CeeLo, the comedic spiritualist. We have Eric Mitchell, my uncle. Thank you so kindly. We have Samantha Melville. Everyone is saying teach, shade, true, true. Great info, facts. We love you. Thank you for being vulnerable. Yeah, I told y'all this was going to be a good one. This was going to be a good one. I told y'all to get your pencils and pens and your notepads because we have the great teacher here. If y'all have any questions, now is your time to ask. Now is your time to ask. But if it's okay with you, can we take a 1 minute commercial break? Well, because we have a few more minutes.
I'm here to serve.
Okay. All right. So thank you so kindly. So we're going to take a 1 minute commercial break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Peace and greetings, and we are back. We are back. We are back, and we are here with Dr. Phil Valentine. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. Great. So you have an event coming up in June.
June the 5th.
Yes. Would you like to talk about that?
Surely, do you have the information? Just in case you have a problem logging on to get the link to register, um, you can go to my website, not my website, but my email, and email me privately at sanu777 at gmail.com. That's S as in science, UNNU 777 at Gmail. And just put in the subject box webinar. And then if you're having difficulties, say with I'm not sure how you're posting the link. If you're having a little problem with in registering, just send your request to my private email, and I'll get that out to you. Now, you see, the subject here is going to be talking about the metaphysics of existence itself. That's what the study of ontology is, the study of existence. So, ontology and the metaphysical awakening of the melanated mind, that's the thematic uh, overview of what we're going to be speaking on. Of course, the subtitles are really, they tend to, I have to mask that because of the enemies that tune into my programs. So I have to place or couch the lesson plan in parts of my book, because part of my books are what I teach in my university, and I take from my book the Cosmic Codex, Book of the Earth. That's my next book, and I put these information. So identifying the transmorphic interludes to hyperdimensional awareness, where I'll be discussing the pulse of consciousness, and that everything that exists in the in the condensed place that we call matter, everything that exists there is based on pulsing and frequency. But the pulse is the illusion, and the secret is to understand the intervals between the pulses. That's the gate, that's the stargate that helps you to transit out of certain illusory densities that we're dealing with, that we call reality. And so
Mm.
we're going to study about that. We're going to study about the fact that we are under a dome, that there is no spinning earth going at 1,000 miles an hour. We are not traveling anywhere around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour. We are stationary within a plane of existence that is forever. It is an infinite plane, and where we have our eternal life. And so when we understand that there is no death, there is only transition, you'll understand that man, that's us, man meaning men, Alf Nun means mother, father, child. Man, always was. From the time the Creator went to sleep to dream about itself, man existed. And that's us. That's what we're here to do. We're here to become feedback mechanisms to the Creator. The Creator itself is always seen as a child. It has the mind of a child. We can see it as a child, those of us who are initiated in that particular understanding. The Creator created in order to experience. As we experience, our avatar is the feedback mechanism. It is the feedback unit of experience that gives that energy back to the Creator. So we are here as creators to become what? Teachers of ourselves, to become knowledgeable of ourselves as we grow in consciousness, because you can't become conscious. You grow in consciousness because consciousness simply is. There is no taking this part for consciousness or this is consciousness. That's like putting a name to that which is eternal and infinite, like God, and calling it Jesus or
Mm.
calling it Allah. As soon as you call that which you cannot know a name, you've reduced it. You've reduced it to your own simplified form of consciousness,
Mm.
which that is not God. So you can only know that thing called God when you name it yourself. You can't
Mm.
accept the name of somebody else giving you a name of God. That's why we had pantheons. That's why our ancestors dealt with a multiplicity of what we call gods or forces.
Mhm.
So that too frees us up so that we don't become depressed. The reason why we're depressed is because we're looking at one person to come and solve our problems. We're looking at others to come and solve our problems when we are the God that solves all problems. And we forgot that. And we've been made to forget it. Now everybody wants to jump into the metaverse instead of understanding this metaverse. They
Mm.
want to jump into some Europeans' metaverse and get lost inside of that nonsense. Of course, they're going to make a lot of money. Well, when you want to catch a rat, what do? You start hanging cheese and you
Mhm.
bring them all in there. And so now the reality is that your melanin is supposed to take you into worlds that exist within you. But now they got you looking at worlds that exist outside of you. So
Mm.
they've redirected your consciousness. And instead of you dealing with the reality of what you are and who you are, you're dealing with a virtual reality, an alternate reality. That's why they want you in that metaverse. That's why the AI wants your brain. That's why you're caught up with this thing here that's made you a cyborg.
God.
So now, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to estrange yourself? Take some time to shut everything down, electricity, your TV, your phone? That's a scary thing to people today. Take away a child's what do you, patterns, or what do you call it? Take away the TV.
Tablets.
Take away that, and they go through fits. It's a withdrawal. They don't even know what it's like to be in an organic environment anymore. And that's exactly how the machine wants you.
Mm, mm. Oof. I can't wait for this class. I can't wait. I'm just saying here, just keep going. You said something about the Most High. Do you feel as though some people have dual mental issues because they are disconnected from the Most High? Because the Most High is within yourself as well. You are part of the Most High, and that's also being disconnected from yourself. And the reason why I asked that question, because that's how I felt. I felt like I was disconnected from the Most High because I grew up in a spiritual family, but I was distracted at one point in my life, and I disconnected myself from myself and from the Most High.
Yeah, that's the thing. There is no disconnection from the Most High.
Mm,
That is an oxymoron. You
mm,
cannot disconnect from the Most High. You can think you are, and then again you've gotten trapped by your thoughts,
hmm,
and then your ego says, "Yeah, you separated from the Most High. You need to find some Most High out there." No, you need to be still and know I am, not he or she or it is. I am. And when you understand that, you're never alone. There's a difference between alone and being lonely. When you're lonely, it's because you don't like what's rattling around up here.
mm,
You don't like being with yourself. You don't like what it is that you do at the end of the day. You don't like what it is right before you go to bed, what you've accomplished. You don't like being with yourself. Your thoughts are your enemy.
mm,
But when you are alone, you love yourself. You love what you are capable of doing. I tell people there's a meditation. Stare at your palm of your hand for about 2 or 3 minutes, and it will scare the hell out of you. You will see if you do not understand that this thing is constantly going. And
mm,
what is it? What is it? What is it made for? What is it made to do? Some of us lift it up in prayer. Some of us close it in prayer. Some of us like to grab and steal and do things. Some of us like to eat with it. What are these things here? What do they do for you?
mm,
Sometimes you need to stare at whatever those are that you automatically do. You do automatically walk. Have you looked at your feet? Have you looked at yourself and actually adored what it is the Most High is doing when it is allowing you to breathe? We don't take that time anymore. You know, we're submerged in fear, and that fear is being played out in all the images that are given to us on TV, all the images that we're given about relationships. Desperation has become the new preoccupation. I'll say that again. Desperation has become the new preoccupation,
mm,
especially when it comes to relationships, you see.
mm,
So when we understand what desperation is, it's because desperation is a sign that you feel that there is lack in you. And that lack is what makes you lonely. You feel that there is a lack to you. The society tells you got to look this way, be this way, do this way, earn this way. And if you're not keeping up, then there's this exhaustion that becomes your depression. That's what it is. Depression is decompressing. Your body wants to automatically do that, you see? And when it does that, you don't want to do that. So what you do, you keep dropping pills so that that depressive state or that decompression state is constantly being avoided.
mm,
So pull away from that thing that your body is telling you, hey, it's time. It's time for you to shut down. You reboot your computer, but you don't know how to reboot yourself.
Mm, mm, mm. I'm telling you, you just spoke my whole last 2 years. You know, my body shut down, and uh my body is just like, no, we're gonna sit still for a while. You know, and it's been a year and a half.
Good.
For me to just recalibrate. You know, that foundation that I was building on, it was rocky, it was shaky, it wasn't firm. And so now I see my spirit, my higher self, just building a better foundation, a solid foundation. And that took for me to go within, which you said. You know, I had to sit still, you know, remove everything from my life, people, uh, habits, thoughts, the way I
Hmm.
was eating, thinking, you know,
Hmm.
everything. And I didn't realize how much that had played a part, you know, in my life. And you just sat here in the last 40, 50 minutes and just broke everything down. And I just wish that I would have called you, you know, and it did your class last year, you know. But I'm grateful that I went through the divine feminine way first, you know,
Indeed.
because me as a woman, I can't do anything without my divine feminine. That's my
Yeah,
power, that's my seat,
indeed.
you
Indeed.
know. And
I, I concur. And that's the thing that women have been, like Malcolm said, we've been bamboozled, we've been hoodwinked. And the feminist movement did that.
mm,
It took away feminine power and made masculine power the apex of women's behavior today. It's
mm,
it's not, feminism did not give women any power. It took power from them and it gave it to the hands of the ones who created feminism. And the ones who created feminism wanted to destroy the society by destroying the underpinning of a society, which is family. So, what feminism did, it seeded distrust in the male, the primary authority. And the art of war teaches that. When you want to destroy a enemy that's more superior, stronger than you have to destroy them from within. And the
mm,
first thing to do is to destroy the trust that that society has in the what they call the prime or the primary authority, and that's the
mm,
man. When
mm,
you take authority from him, when you're constantly lambasting him, you're telling him he's macho, he's this, he's toxic, his behavior, masculine behavior has now become a disease. When all of that now has been seeded over the last 5 to 10 generations, what you
mm-hmm,
have essentially is a disempowered man. So what you do is the women essentially have been telling him, like when my sister and I, we used to have programs together, Mother Shahrazad Ali. They hated her back in the day when I used to sponsor her.
mm,
But constantly you're telling the man that, man ain't this, you ain't that, and you're constantly, seeing the belittling of the masculine principle on TV, and now in the schools they're putting little boys in skirts and things like that. Once you've done that, now that you've disempowered manhood and masculinity, all you're left with, ladies, are boys,
mm,
grown up boys
mm,
who are not taught the responsibilities and the necessities of going through the crucible of manhood.
mm,
Society is supporting that in everything. Women are no longer actually given the same sentences as men when they do the same thing. Women are a privileged class today. And this, of course, the white woman is the woman who actually had this nonsense going on with her man, but she essentially convinced black women that that's the way to be because the disempowerment or the disempowering of the black male, the distrust in the black male, and the undermining of education, and that's what they did.
mm,
The education system itself was then changed from Rockefeller in the University of Chicago. created something called outcome-based education. That was the changeover of you saying 1 and 1 equals 2 to 1 and 1 equals 3. Oh, don't worry, you tried. That brought in the, oh, you got a participation trophy. There was no
Mm.
losers. And boys, men need winners and losers. We need to win and we need to lose. That's how you forge men into the providers and the protectors for a society. But those who wanted to cripple this society knew that they had to cripple the generation of young men. So Title IX came in, the changing of gender, the incorporation of 10 genders, the vilification of masculinity as toxic. All of these things are strategies. They weren't real.
Mm.
They were not real. And they were accepted, however. So now the court system essentially makes sure that the greatest enemy to those who really rule us are the men. So the way that they did it in Rome, in the ancient Roman time, when they conquered somebody, they take the men and conscript the young boys and men, send them to foreign countries where they were occupying and rule and brought the women up to the
Hmm.
position of. So now the women are saying, well, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get my own. Can't trust a man. I'm going to get my own. I'm going to take my years between 18 years and 25, and I'm going to build my career. Well, most people don't know that the etymological word career, the etymological meaning is combat.
Mm. I didn't
So
know that.
most people don't. So when you're dealing with the new way that our sisters are being forced in, and I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm saying this is what the society has made us have to do by convincing that this is what is necessary to move us forward in progression. But what it did was it took the time when the woman was most fertile, and that's dangerous. They knew
Mm.
that they had to control that time because they wanted to kill off the population. That's what all of this. I can't say it because I don't want to get you banned. That's what this whole thing is about.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you have
Mm.
to kill off at least 2.5 billion people. That's why the family planning was created. The family planning was created to
Planned Parenthood, yeah.
yeah, Planned Parenthood. So what you had was a strategy that was being initiated by those men, European men in the families up top, to make sure that the bottom part did not rise in stature and in economic validity. So when Marcus started, he had his own shipping lines. We had our own taxis, bus service, schools, banks. Those of the Khazarian mafia, they knew that was a challenge to them because we were the labor that was skilled after all the years that we had the backbreaking work. We became skilled. We had so many inventions we created that we couldn't use because of our status. We couldn't get money
Mhm.
back. So
Mhm.
now what they needed to do was to stop so-called black development. And so when any one of our so-called messiahs came up, then COINTELPRO came up, and essentially you see COINTELPRO in operation today. So what happens? As soon as Marcus came up, they went after him for taxes or some other nonsense. And he said, don't worry, I got other tigers in the bush. Our
Ha.
banks got closed down. Okay? Our banks got closed down. Then Malcolm and Martin came up. They took those two out. Okay? Independence. They do not want that type of independence because they know that everything we touch, we turn to gold. And that's a challenge to their autonomy and their power. So they had to undermine us because when they looked at us during that so-called civil rights movement, we were so cohesive that the feminists came in and were appalled at the type of connection that the man and the woman had. And so she went back to her house and saw that she was going crazy. The women in the feminist movements were nuts,
Hmm.
and so was what's her name, Friedan, and what's her name? What's the one that did Us or We magazine?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
We
Gloria
neg-
Steinem. Gloria
okay.
Steinem, she worked for the CIA, and she was sent into the civil rights movement to break up the women.
Really?
And they conscripted Oprah because
Really?
Oprah got her Oprah got her chance when she was the only one let in during the Chicago riots. Because remember, they weren't letting any white reporters in there. So
Right.
here's the weather girl. They said, okay, here, you've just gotten a promotion. Take this microphone, get in there, and get us a story. After she made her bones with that, the feminists approached her and said, listen, you're going to be the new mammy. You're going to be Aunt Jemima, and you're going to get into that, so we're going to give you all the money you need. What you're going to do is you're going to steer black women's attentions away from their core values, which
Mm,
was society and community. And you're going to go out by yourself as your independent girl. You're going to do your own thing. You
mm,
can't trust a man to do it. So
mm.
all staged. It was all well done. You have to give it to them. They did a
Yeah,
good
they did a good job.
yes. And so from that point forward, they conscripted what's her name, Martin Luther King's wife, Coretta Scott King. She
Hmm.
joined the Boule, and so did Malcolm's wife. She joined the Boule. So they took the first two people, and they ended up killing Malcolm's grandson.
I remember that
Yeah. So you
some years
know,
back.
it's all planned. This is all planned. So now our sisters are out there. The only thing they have is this tic tac, whatever they call that nonsense,
TikTok.
and TikTok, whatever it is, and they got that, and they're at bars, they're this, and the best years of their life, between 18 years when they're most fertile and 25, that's the time they tell you shoot for the career. This is what men do, and then women are on these platforms saying, "I got my own job, I got my own house, I got my own car, I got my 6 figures. What am I doing wrong? Why
Hmm.
am I alone?" Well, here's why, beloved. All that, as a man, I ain't impressed. Because all you
Mm-hmm.
do is telling me that you're another man.
Mm.
Because that's what I do. I do
Mm.
that. I'm the man. I create families. That's why
Mm-hmm.
they attacked me. Went after you and told you you could be me. And now you're frustrated at the end of your 30s, 40s, and you're saying, okay, I want to have babies now. No, you can't have babies now. And if you do, it's dangerous. And you're supposed to, because back in the day you could be 40 and 50, back in the days when you were idle and you were purer and you weren't bleeding as much.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't bleeding at all, and this European was blown away at that fact. And when you did bleed, in my book The Wounded Womb, you had built these huts where you would go and you couldn't stand straight up, because standing straight up would be the problem. You'd have to always be in a crouched position until such time, and you only bled twice, maybe 3 or 4 drops, and then you would come back. Your babies, your babies never cried. That blew the minds of the Europeans. Your babies were toilet trained at 6 months. They would tell you when they were ready to go to the bathroom, even though they couldn't speak.
Mm-hmm.
They were twice as advanced as white children. Why? Because in that particular thing that they had, there was this documentary called um, the Cradle of Civilization. The French had gone over to Africa and I think New Guinea, in Guinea, I believe. I don't know. They were going to study, diseases and malnutrition, and that was the monies that they were funded. When they got there and they started studying and looking at society and looking at the advanced children and what they were doing and saying and speaking and how they were communicating at 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, they gave them these tests where they would put the stars in the star, the ball in the ball, the square in
Mm-hmm.
the square. And
The
these
gifted
children
test.
were 10 years old. And they were saying, oh my God, these children are 10 times more advanced than European children. And so what they did, they found out how are they doing that? They found out that that baby never left the mother at any time.
Because
That
the
baby was
mother's the first teacher. The woman is the first teacher.
That's the thing. But they never put them down to sleep someplace else. They always slept with them, next to them, and somebody's hand was on them. Either the aunt's hand or the co-wife. Somebody was there to feed, to make sure that that energy never broke. And then the thing about it is, women are the loquacious ones. They're the ones who are the ones who are the developers of language. Men, we were stoic. We couldn't speak a lot because when we were out hunting, how could we be talking back and forth? And well, I had this, I had a backache, and no, we didn't do that. Sign
Mm-hmm.
language was actually started by men in order
Mm.
for them to be able to speak to one another when they were hunting or when they were
Right.
doing what they were doing in war and in battle. Women were the language creators and the ones who did that. So when you had your baby strapped, the babies always had their ears next to mother, and she would be speaking, and he would be picking it up, she would be picking it up. So they spoke, and they had a greater intellect than white children. So what did they do? They changed the nature of their study and called it the cradle of civilization. Couldn't believe what they were dealing with.
Mm.
Then, then the French and I think the Israelis, they sent the white women over to see how best to carry their children.
Huh.
And then they found out that the mothers would carry the babies across them or on their back. And that's when they had this whole market of strapping the babies on their backs. Remember? Those little
Yeah.
pieces? Yeah. All they were doing is pimping us.
From the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And everything you said, it just reminded me of everything when they go back to slavery, divide and conquer.
Yeah.
They used to demasculate the men in front of the woman and their children.
Kill them. Kill them in front of the
Kill
women.
them, castrate them,
Well,
burn them,
yeah.
do all kind of things. And the woman would raise her sons. We have a call coming in. The woman, would raise their sons.
To
Um,
be passive. Yes.
yes, so they won't get killed by massa.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know who that was. I hit the wrong buttons. I'm so busy dialoguing with the doctor here. You could call back in if you like. Um, well, you could call back in. Yeah. So divide and conquer. I greatly I concur that. And I totally agree with that because we are missing our family. We are missing it. But my question is, because you talked about the feminism. How about when the um when the woman tries and but the man is just not ready because they wasn't raised by another man, or they was a boy um into a man.
Yeah. That's the dysfunction that was created. Remember, everything that happens that seems to be what's wrong with us today, that's not natural in a community that supports family. None of what you see happening that's supposed to be our dysfunction as a society and as a community and as a culture, all of that is the same thing that happened to the Jews in Russia. The very nature of a ghetto, or the word ghetto, came from the Jews, who were the same in the same conditions that a lot of us we call blacks here, which are the autochthonous peoples that belonged here. We we were destroyed. The culture was destroyed. They stole the name of your gods. They destroyed the name of your gods. They destroyed the very thing that you essentially worshipped, which was of nature, by nature, for nature. All of that is gone. And we've adopted names for deity that feeds his ego, feeds his power structure. I
Mm.
don't, I don't call no Jesus. I mean, who is that? The very letter J was not even introduced until the 17th century. So who the hell is this Jesus?
Yeah, it wasn't in the African language. You're absolutely right. We have a caller, Dr. Phil. Philip Valentine. Somebody wants to speak to you. Hello, caller. This is Etoy. It's in the Dr. Phil. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How are you? I hear your computer or your TV in the background. Can you turn it down some?
Okay, hold a second. Okay, what about now?
That's perfect. Hey, how are you? How's everything? Thank you for joining in.
Thank you, thank you. Hi. So first, want to say thank you so much, sis, for this interview arrangement with such a great teacher. And just want to say, very excited to hear Dr. Phil wisdom as always. And I just have a couple questions for him, if I could add, if it's okay to add. So,
Is it okay, Dr. Phil?
first,
Yeah, as far as time is concerned, yeah.
Yes. We have a few minutes, so if y'all want to get y'all questions, you got to call now because we're getting ready to end it in a few minutes.
okay, all right. So my first question is, I know you guys were talking earlier about, food and diet and things like that, and how it kind of, it relates to your mental health and things like that. So I've been vegan since 2011. Going from what you would say a junkie vegan, starting out to alkaline vegan, and then now mostly raw. The only things I really cook is mushrooms, and I wanted to see how maybe my diet or our diet meets on a spiritual level with when it comes to animals. And the reason I say this, I've been having some experiences with kind of seeing different animals. Just giving an example, about I would say 2 years ago, and living in Georgia and Atlanta, you don't really see peacocks like that. So just kind of sitting on the steps and feeling a strong energy before I see it by myself, and I see this blue green in the neighborhood. It's blue green peacock in the neighborhood, and but the crazy thing about it, it was the same color as my shirt. And I got up because I'm like, what is the peacock doing? And it ran away, right? And that was about a month after I did like a fast. I did like a 30-day water fast. And so then 3 weeks ago, I had another experience where I was in North Carolina. We're at my sister's house getting ready to leave at 6 o'clock, like 7 o'clock in the morning. It just turned morning. I was getting ready to come back to Georgia. And I went in the back of her house, and I see a owl in the daytime that, it was sitting on top of like a trampoline of my nephew and my nephew's trampoline. And I, instantly locked eyes with the owl, and the owl basically got down on the ground and was walking, and then I began to walk, and then the owl pretty much kind of turned around and then turned its head all the way around. I've never seen that before. I've never seen an owl in the daytime, so it was kind of like amazing to me. And then eventually the owl left, and I was packing up to go to Georgia. I went to Georgia, all of that good stuff. About maybe 7-8 hours, or maybe that evening time, I get a call from my sister, and a picture from my sister and my nephew. He's maybe like, he's 5. Mom, send this picture to everybody. I just seen an owl outside, and we have to see it. So he sends the picture of the owl to us, and I'm like, oh my God, I just seen the owl this morning, but I'm surprised that it came back. And I asked them, have you seen the owl since? Have you seen the owl since? And they said no. So my point in asking this is, to Dr. Phil, is there's some sort of maybe specifically with birds, 'cause, you know, and I know how, you know, like with chicken and everything, it's like the African black culture soul food or what have you. Is there some type of resonance with animals and human on a metaphysical level, like specifically birds? And that's my question, my long question.
We have a resonance with all animals. It depends on our demeanor.
Is it okay, Dr. Phil?
Okay.
There's interference in the background. Dr. Phil is actually answering your question.
Hello?
Okay, we're gonna hang up. Just listen to the Dr. Phil's answer. There's too much interference in the background. Hello?
You said it was interference in the back?
Yeah, we hear interference. He was actually responding to you, and we hear something in the background.
Oh, I'm not sure what that is because I have it paused. I don't have anything going, so maybe it's just a connection.
Okay.
Well, as I was saying that
It's a delay. It seems like it's a heavy delay as well.
Okay. We have a connection to all animals. It's just depending on what you're resonating on, what you're, if you're into a particular vibration, they read auras. I'm not sure why that owl was out in the daytime. It probably couldn't actually hunt or get what it needed to hunt at night. So it may be that whatever it is that you do that's in your backyard, if there's garbage, if there's certain mice, or if there's certain small rodents or any other life forms could also have them the daytime. They have owls that do come in the daytime or perch in the daytime if they're not successful at night. As far as resonating with animals, yes, but usually the animal has to grow like a child before it trusts you. If you allow the animal to be feral and to be raised in the wild, um, and has not acclimated or acculturated to humans, then it will just see you as it would see everything else as prey. Usually, if you have a certain demeanor and you have an energy that is not, um, I guess, suffused or clogged with a lot of doubt and fear and anger, all that radiates in your aura and they can pick that up. And that's why animals would kind of run from you because you have so much going on in your mind and your brain that they can't actually pick up any peace. So you become a threat and therefore they either attack or run. So people who are like horse whisperers or dog whisperers, they have learned that there's a certain energy to approach these animals, and there's a certain energy you must have for them to approach you. So depending on that, you may have had a energy at that time. You may have suspended all types of feelings of fear when you saw that owl, and that somewhat gave you a temporary clearing of your aura, and the aura and the owl didn't feel threatened.
I'm actually elated that she asked that question because I am dealing with a fear of birds. Every day I deal with that fear, and I know it's something within the subconscious. Um, and in the IFA community, they work with birds, and I'm saying to myself, how am I going to go down this road when I have this fear? Um, I'm asking as a student, do you have any suggestions before we get off this call? Because that's something that I'm facing every day. I try to go next to the birds every single day, maybe feed them something, but when they get too close, I run.
Well, there may have been some traumatic situation in your childhood, possibly with your mother, maybe. You don't know. Or there's a memory back there that's stuck with in your soul as a signature of fear, and that fear was actually seen in the form of the birds. I think it has to do with your trust factor. That dovetailed out into your life. I mean, with what you said that you've gone through personally,
Mm,
that type of trust, you would have lost that energy. That energy would have been a flickering light, it would not have been a bright one. So, your trust factor and your openness and that purity of thought and mind is what would open you up to knowing that it is nothing more than another form of consciousness communicating with itself and with life itself. And I being that I was raised in the jungle, in the bush, I have no fear of animals. I have a healthy respect for them, and I understand that they have their mindset based on their environmental experiences with man. But um, I think, or at least I put forth this suggestion, is that you have lost your fear, you've lost that trust in yourself, and it burned out with what you have gone through in your traumas. And that trust is an energy that is not only something that you possess, but radiates and is picked up and experienced by others, especially animals. You can't fool animals.
mm.
When you come to a place of trust within yourself, I'm not talking about lack of discernment now. You don't put yourself in danger. But there is an openness to a point where you can't hold on to this armor because it's automatically felt by those who use another sense in order to survive. So, again, that goes back to what we spoke about as far as the inventory of your thoughts. What is in that catalog? What do I pick up here that would have me fearful?
I want to thank you for that. You just lifted something up off of me. My higher self and the Most High just keep saying trust. They kept saying that since last year. Trust, 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 trust. You don't trust, and I'm not even gonna go there because I just was getting ready to tear up. So
Mhm.
I was just getting ready to tear up. Oh my God. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That armor that I have built. We're gonna skip that.
Mhm.
Thank you. I want to say thank you. Thank you for coming and for blessing this podcast. I can't even get my words together because I'm really holding back this tear because you broke down a wall in me just now. Um, for me, for me being so hurt in my life. Oof.
You're fighting again. There you
Yes.
go.
Mm, me
You have
build. Mm,
stop fighting again. Whatever it is that you feel, you have to free. All of these dams that you've created, all of them are going to be met when you earnestly are seeking for that freedom. The first thing that happens is all the things that have been feeling good to feel good about itself. All those pains feel good about themselves, and you have to allow yourself to break through. These are walls that you're going to meet, and the emotions that go with them, they have to be let out because that particular experience has a signature of emotion that needs to be expressed before it's addressed.
thank you. Thank you for seeing that in me. Thank you. I want to thank the Most High. I
That's
gotta
where you
thank
do.
the I gotta thank the Most High for this moment right here. I gotta thank my ancestors, my Agun for this moment right here. Thank you, 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 thank you for allowing Dr. Phil Valentine to come on and just bless my podcast and also to see something within me and have that woman call about birds because the Most High know that I am going through this every single day of my life and then lead this have this segue for me to ask Dr. Phil about this, and he just opened me up and just just broke a wall in me. He sensed it. He said one said was when you have a person that operates in a different sense, different vibration, different frequency, they can feel the wall, the armor that I have built. Thank you for speaking through him, Most High, for telling, for me to get the message that you have been telling me for the last year and a half is to trust and let go. And I want to thank you, Dr. Valentine, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come here and give me that healing that you have gave to me just now. I was not expecting, I never teared up on the podcast, and I was not expecting to do that with you today. So I am definitely going to be taking your class. I'm definitely going to keep continuing doing this work with you because we only been on here for an hour and a half, and you just broke, you just broke something off of me just like that. So,
It's my pleasure.
where can everyone find you? Whew.
Well, I could be, if you want the services we have, I still do vaccination exemptions. I still recommend very highly that you deal with the JP or Juice Plus. And my next semester for Metaphysical Psychology 1 begins on the 19th of next month, I believe. If you want that information or you want to know anything about that, you can call 800-847-1291. Again, 800-847-1291. And please leave your number twice. Sometimes your numbers, your name, like just like this, the call drops and I don't get the number. And please do not make a long story. Just get to the point. Tell me what you need very quickly and make sure you say the number twice clearly. For any information, again, hopefully you will post the link for the webinar. And um, if you're having problems, you can go to my email, my private email, at Sanud, that's S as in science, U, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, U, 777 at gmail.com. Sanu, which means doctor, physician in the ancient Kemetic, 777 at gmail.com. And just put in the subject box the word webinar in all caps. And then I will send that over to you along with the flyer. And please send it to people who you think would benefit by attending. And remember, it's this Sunday. I will leave the lines open for registration all throughout. It's going to go on for about 7 or 8 hours, and it's going to be a masterclass in high metaphysics, as well as giving you information about what's really going on economically, as well as um, dealing with the so-called health and this attack on our bloodstreams, if you know what I'm talking about. And with that, Sister Etroy, I want to thank you for the opportunity to address the family. And I'm glad that our meeting, this is why we say in the ancient Kemetic tongue, Shem Imhotep. And Shem Imhotep means go with satisfaction. That our meeting together was of benefit to both of us. So Shem Imhotep, and then we say walk in light, Shem in Ra.
Shemotep. Shemanra. Give thanks, Dr. Valentine. I appreciate you. Just want to make sure I get that number correct before you leave. 800-827.
847
847.
1291.
Got it. 1291. Thank you. I greatly appreciate you. And I will definitely keep in contact. Thank you so kindly. Be blessed. Yes. Um, what can I say? you know, Dr. Phil Valentine. You know, I wasn't expecting to tear up. I wasn't expecting to, to be opened up like that, but I needed that, at that moment. Thank you, Autry. Also, shout out to King Simon. Dr. Phil Valentine will be with King Simon on Sunday as well. I also want to post our flyer. King Simon is hosting an event in August to the 27th. It's called the Cosmic Alignment. And I'll be opening. I have the honor to open for King Simon, Lloyd Strayhorn, and Ellison Nara. How fortunate am I? I'm truly grateful. Um, what I want to say is, because I'm getting ready to end, because I don't want to bore anybody. We had a nice long interview. What I want to say is, I launched this podcast during Mercury retrograde. I didn't even know it was Mercury retrograde at the time. I launched the podcast during Mercury retrograde, and if y'all know what that is, it deals with communication and things of that nature, especially electronics. Every single podcast, I'm always having interference in the beginning. There's always something going on my internet. I bought an Ethernet cord so that I could have a strong internet. Won't be no interference, and it still is interference. But you know why I'm having that? It's because of the knowledge and the power and the energy and the frequency that I'm bringing to the podcast. I'm tearing up all of the negative vibrations. So I know that's why those interferences are happening. And with that is said, we have to keep pushing through no matter what challenges that you may face, because I was nervous. I was having anxiety all day, especially yesterday and today, about having Dr. Phil on. Even got a little sick behind it. And when we came on, we was having so much interference. But look what happened. Look at the dialogue that happened, because there are forces out there that knew that was going to take place and did not want someone to get the message, but the message got through anyway. And one of them was me. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone that has tuned in. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your support. I greatly, greatly appreciate you. I'm just starting out. And the fact that I had Dr. Phil Valentine and King Simon and Kevin Mega and Nini Ali on my show as I first start, it's going to do nothing but get better and better and better and better and better. I'm here to bring awareness of mental health to everyone, because mental health looks different for everyone. It doesn't mean that you have to be in a mental institution and be getting shot up with drugs. Sometimes you just need a hug, or sometimes you just need words, like how Dr. Phil said to me, just to break something in you. He literally broke me in front of y'all. He literally tore down a wall, and I felt it lift up off of me. That was the Most High speaking through him to me. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the support. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, because soon we're going to travel with this. We're going to go to, I always travel back and forth to Africa. We're going to go to Africa, do a podcast. We're going to go to the festivals this summer and do the podcast. We're just going to take it to the streets, because everyone needs a hug. Everyone needs love. Everyone needs motivation every now and then. Everyone needs encouragement. So I just want to say thank you, and I greatly appreciate you. I see you next week, same time, same place. Etoy, it's an experience. Peace.